in 2005 and was published in Nigeria by Cassava Republic in 2008. This is the Cassava Republic edition, and I would assume you can get it at the book fair. Tropical Fish is a collection of 8 linked stories featuring 3 sisters. Most of the stories are set in Uganda. Doreen will now do us the honor of reading from Tropical Fish.
Read it? Okay, yeah, feel free.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you, Igoni Barrett, for that introduction. And thank you all for being here. I'm always excited to be back in Nigeria. And I hope the members of my workshop are here today, because today we talked about style and setting. So I thought I'd read a paragraph that actually came out of an exercise like the one I gave them today. So I'm reading from the first story. It's about a little girl who is exploring her parents' bedroom. And I'll just read for 2 minutes, okay. A huge oval mirror hung in between 2 columns of chocolate brown drawers. The mirror turned on its axis, attached to the drawers, and I was always careful not to move it, not to leave any tracks. I dragged a chair up and climbed onto it. The tingliest moment was just before opening the top drawer. Oh, what if there was no brilliance of disorganized rainbow colors, as smooth as beach stones, or as rough as sand, and in all shapes possible. But time after suspenseful time, there they were, a confirmation that beauty was magically real. As I slowly opened the drawer, color burst out like flashbulbs popping. There lay heaps of gold and green, like a spicy Asian or Arab dish. The place the jewelry took me to was better than heaven. There were rainbow shells washed up on a fantasy shore. The bead necklaces with matching earrings and bracelets were from Kenya, Nigeria, India, and other countries only traced on maps. The teeny tiny round colored ants wandered up and down long paths of string in designs of blue and white, or strong red, shiny black, burning yellow, colors of the Uganda flag. There was trembling, see-through, watery blue, thick globs of glass. Shiny stones of black and purple that slithered through my fingers like thieves. Pearls of an ivory magnificence that spoke of something deeper than white, something older, royalty, angels' tears. I took it all in as slowly as I could, first with my eyes only, closing them for a moment, then opening them again for the surprise of wild color. Then I passed my hands and arms through the cold stones, slowly turning over the careless heaps, watching them catch the dim light and throw it back, in a conversation I understood but couldn't translate. The stones rattled like feisty tambourines, or gurgled low and heavy as they knocked against one another. Good luck. I worshipped the color with both hands, rubbing each bead as one would a rosary, then lifted the necklaces up and watched them ripple through my fingers like silvery water. My hand warmed them, and then I held them to my cheeks. The smooth stones caressed, the rough beads scratched and tickled. Was this what it was like to be kissed? I breathed in deeply. Ah, Mama's perfume. That wasn't enough. I had to taste them. I placed one black bead necklace in my mouth and sucked, enjoying its texture and tastelessness. I could hear my mama say, far away in my head, "Get that out of your mouth, you'll fall sick." That made me suck even harder. What if I swallowed one and choked to death? I would be a princess dying for beauty. Okay, I'll just read this a little bit more. Finally, I put on as many of the necklaces as I could, moving them over my head in worshipful dance movements, head bowed solemnly, then up with secret ritualistic pleasure. My chest grew heavier and heavier as the beads and stones and glass trailed down to my knees. Mama's ears were not pierced, so I could wear her clip-on earrings too. I put on 2 pairs, feeling them hold each earlobe with a sharp, sweet bite. Carefully, I climbed down the chair, necklaces and bracelets and earrings swaying, moved the chair away and faced the mirror. I leaned forward slowly, sedately, turned on the lamp covered in red brocade and fringe to match the curtains. I stared at the girl in the orange-reddish glow. Who was she? The rose of glittering color made her beautiful. She could be anyone, a queen, a bishop, a rich, loved wife. I passed into blessed existence, where one lived to be beautiful, soft, and rounded out, with red lips, red nails, and glowing stones all over. I was decorated, celebrated, a Christmas tree, to make the room shine, to turn the world to happiness. I lifted the jewelry and covered my face. I couldn't stay solemn. Laughter bubbled up inside. I peeked through the shiny stones and stuck out my tongue. My twin in the mirror did the same, and we giggled. Then I practiced my poses, now a young shy princess or Cinderella at the ball, up on one foot because of the lost glass slipper. A cardinal waving the sign of the cross through the air, then spraying incense all over. What about multicolored starfish swirling deep through the azure water of Atlantis? Now a Paris model posing for flashy cameras, smoking a long cigarette, sending out flying kisses. I could hear the crowd cheer. The jewelry jingled with delighted laughter. The final act was the best one of all, being my mother. Okay, I'll just stop there.
That was a beautiful reading. Beautiful story. I have read Greenstones, and Greenstones is a very descriptive story of a young girl, a child, who's discovering things about her parents and thinking about her life as a child. And as we were reading, I couldn't help thinking about the session before this one, and several comments kept coming up about the usefulness of fiction or the usefulness of writing. I mean, this is, I like this story a lot, and I think it's a very useful story in ways that I probably can't explain to you, but I would like you to answer that question. As to, what is the use of this story, and in what way does this forward women's issue?
Okay, thank you. Women's issues sounds like they're problems, but I know what you're asking.
And also, if it should, I mean, if you think it doesn't, you could also say why it shouldn't.
I came late to the earlier session, so there are some things that maybe I may not answer to. But one of the things that fiction can do, I think for me, first of all, it's an issue of entertainment and enjoying the words and just the pleasure of language. Like you can enjoy poetry and telling of a good story. And then deeper than that is an exploration of being human and how we come to be who we are. In this story, I'm very interested in how a young girl turns into a woman, because really it's something that happens outside us. I don't believe it's all essentialized. There are things that you learn to appreciate jewelry, to think that you should wear red lipstick, you think that you should do this. So just imagining that process. And for her, she wants to be like her mother, so she goes in front of the mirror and just imitates all that. That is for her now a game, but it's almost like the whole game of adolescence. And then suddenly you find that it's who you are. And you have to separate yourself from this person in society who is always judged by what she looks like. And so in response, she's overly concerned about that, and it becomes what she is. Exploring that, I think, can help us understand what makes us women, what makes us men, how we move in this world. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How do we deal with it? Fiction, I think, can help answer all these questions.
I agree with you. The theme of this festival, this year's festival, is women in literature. And so I'll ask a question about women in literature. Do you think do you think female writers face any professional and artistic problems? Let me not call it problems, but challenges that male writers don't. And I'm speaking generally, not just Nigeria or Africa, but generally women. Female writers, do they face any challenges that male writers or their male counterparts don't?
Yes. I mean, I believe that there are challenges we all face as writers, right? Just getting published, just being able to become a writer is a challenge in and of itself. But I think there are some challenges that women face that may be different from what men face. The challenge I'm facing right now is that I have a 4-year-old child. And as women, we tend to be the ones who take on the nurturing role. Somehow you find that it's the women who are doing more of the work at home to make sure that we have a next generation. And that takes time. Writing is something that you do need a lot of time, a lot of mental space to think about what you're doing, to create. Whereas bringing up a family also takes a lot of mental space, a lot of emotional energy. And I think, I'm sure men are involved in many ways with children, but I do find in general that women have a bigger burden. Professionally, I think the challenges all over the world, but especially here in Africa, just to become a writer is a privilege. The education I have got, when I know that there are many African women, many families that would rather pay for education for their boys and not for the girls. So for those very basic things, education, healthcare, that diet that you're fed at home, you don't become a writer just magically out of the blue. You're talented, you become a writer. It's because of how you're nurtured from when you're born. There are many more talented women out there in Uganda, in the rural areas, who could have been in my position and are not, because I just happen to be lucky to have a family that believed in female education. So I feel that's a challenge. All the challenges that developing countries face where women are disadvantaged even women writers, or women who could have been writers and don't even get to that arena. But I also feel that professionally, I think as African women, there are certain things that we have been allowed to say or not say. We would like to say that we are not controlled by society anymore. Society's mores don't matter, but they actually do. What is the proper way for a woman to behave? She's supposed to be decent, she's supposed to be respectable, there are some things she's supposed to say and there are some things she's not supposed to say. Whereas writing is really about expression. And you may not even realize the extent to which you self-censor. So in my book, there are some places that are quite sexually explicit. And in many ways, those stories have been not taken as seriously, I think, because I have broken a taboo as to what women are allowed to say. Or if you're a decent woman, this is what you're allowed to say or what you're not allowed to say. And I'm sure there are many women who self-censor, and there are some stories that we'll not even see because of that. As for things like editors, publishing, or whether they treat men or women differently, that's very hard to gauge. I think you'd have to do some sort of scientific study on that. But I have an example from the science field. I'm sure it applies to writing. In the Scientific American, you can all Google it. There was this experiment that was done where there was this woman's criteria. There was an individual's criteria. Everything was exactly the same, the CV. And then they didn't say, they put the name of a woman. She didn't get the job. The exact CV with the exact qualifications, with the exact whatever, they put a man. And the same, what we call judges, or the people who decide to get a job. Both men and women gave the man the job. So it's just a stark example, but I think it does happen. I do think that publishers look at women's writing as writing for women, whereas men's writing is writing for the world. They don't think that men are writing men's issues. They're saying they're writing human issues. And so you tend to get put in a box. So although there are successful women out there that we all know, but I think there are many more that could have been successful, but I judge them